Picture this, it's midnight. Your phone buzzes with a message from someone you'd never expect. A photo, a few words, a secret that changes everything. I'm Nate, and this is the story of how one unexpected moment turned my simple life upside down. Stick around. You won't believe where this leads. Asterisk, my name's Nate. I'm 25, and I live with my mom in a small cottage just outside town. It's nothing fancy, just a creaky wooden porch, a kitchen that smells like coffee and burnt toast, and a back room where I crash. That room used to be for guests, but now it's mine, stuffed with a lumpy mattress, a second-hand dresser, and a pile of clothes I keep meaning to fold. It's not the life most people dream of, but it's mine, and I'm okay with that. Last week, I was hauling bricks at a construction site under a blazing summer sun. Sweat dripped into my eyes as I stacked red clay bricks, one after another, until my arms burned. The foreman, a guy with a voice like gravel, barked orders while I kept my head down, focusing on the rhythm of the work. Lift, stack, repeat. It's the kind of job that pays cash at the end of the day, no questions asked. No benefits, no long-term contract, just enough to cover groceries and keep the lights on. Some folks might call that a dead end. Me, I call it freedom. I've never been one for schedules or suits. College wasn't my thing, too many rules. Too many people telling you who you're supposed to be. Instead, I bounce between jobs. One week I'm roofing a house, the next I'm helping someone move their life into a new apartment. The work's hard, but it's honest. There's no boss breathing down my neck, no calendar dictating my every move. I live day to day, and most days that feels like enough still. There's this quiet itch inside me, one I don't talk about much. It's not about wanting more money or a bigger house. It's about connections, something real, something that makes you feel alive. I don't know what it looks like, but I feel it when I'm alone at night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the fan. It's like a piece of me is waiting for something to click, something to make sense of the chaos. My mom, though she's got other ideas. She's 50, with a laugh that fills the house and a knack for worrying about me. She's been on my case lately, more than usual. Over dinner, she set down her fork, looked me in the eye, and start the same speech. Nate, you can't just drift like this. You need a plan, a real job, a wife, kids, something to show for your life. She dreams of grandkids, of family gatherings with tiny voices calling her grandma. I get it. She wants me to be happy, to have roots. But every time she brings it up, I feel like I'm letting her down. We don't fight often. I try to nod, to listen, to keep the peace, but it's taxing, hearing the same words day after day. Last night we sat at the kitchen table, eating leftover spaghetti. The radio played softly in the background, some old country song she loves. She stirred her coffee, the spoon clinking against the mug, and said, Nate, you're 25. You can't keep living like life's a vacation. You've got to grow up. I stared at my plate, twirling noodles around my fork, and mumbled, I'm trying, Mom, but I wasn't sure I meant it. It's not that I don't care about the future. I do, but my version of it looks different from hers. She sees a picket fence, a steady paycheck, a family. I see something else, something I can't quite name yet. Maybe it's a moment, a person, a feeling that makes the world feel bigger. I don't know how to explain that to her without sounding like a kid chasing dreams he can't describe. The cottage we live in is small, but it's home. The walls are thin, so I hear everything her humming while she washes dishes, the creak of her rocking chair when she reads at night. It's comforting, in a way, knowing she's there. But it also reminds me how stuck we are in this cycle. She pushes, I pull back, and we go round and round. I love her, but sometimes I wonder if I'm staying here for her or because it's easier than figuring out what's next. That construction job last week stuck with me, though. Not because of the work, but because of a moment at the end of the day. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink, and I sat on a stack of bricks, sipping water from a dented bottle. One of the older guys, Joe, sat next to me. He's been at it for decades, hands rough as sandpaper, but he's got this quiet wisdom. He looked at the sunset and said, Days like this make you feel alive, don't they? I nodded, but his words hit that itch inside me. Alive. That's what I'm chasing, even if I don't know how to find it. Mom doesn't see that side of me. She sees the guy who sleeps in too late, who forgets to mow the lawn, who hasn't brought a girl home since high school. She doesn't know about the nights I lie awake, wondering if I'm missing something bigger, and maybe I am. Maybe I'm just drifting like she says. But there's a part of me that believes this life, this simple, messy, unplanned life is leading me somewhere. Somewhere I'll feel seen. Not just as her son or the guy who hauls bricks, but as me. So that's where I'm at, living day to day, dodging my mom's lectures, and waiting for something to spark. Little did I know, that spark was about to come from the last place I'd expect her new friend, Elise, and a midnight message that would change everything. Asterisk, about a year ago, my mom brought a new face into our little world. Her name's Elise, and she's not one of those lifelong friends from mom's school days. The kind who swap stories about bad perms and first loves. No, They met at a community potluck, one of those events where everyone brings a dish and pretends to care about the neighborhood watch. Mom came home that night buzzing, her cheeks flushed from laughter and too much iced tea. She couldn't stop talking about this woman she'd clicked with over a shared love of lemon bars. Elise is different, Mom said, her eyes bright. She's sharp, funny, and doesn't put up with nonsense. I nodded, half listening, not thinking much of it at the time. Elise started coming over for coffee a couple times a week, and it became their ritual. The kitchen would fill with the smell of brewed coffee and the sound of their voices, rising and falling like a song. Elise is younger than Mom, maybe 35, if I had to guess. Since Mom's 50, she's got this way about her, like she knows exactly who she is. Always dressed sharp, not flashy but perfect. Think tailored jeans, soft blouses and earrings that catch the light just right. Her hair's always neat, dark curls pulled back or falling just so, and her laugh is warm, like it could thaw a winter day. She's elegant, confident, the kind of person who walks into a room and makes it feel fuller at first. I didn't pay her much mind. She was Mom's friend, not mine. I'd shuffle through the kitchen to grab a soda, and they'd be there, leaning over the table, cups steaming. Mom would be mid-rant about something, usually me. "Nate's got no plan," she'd say, her voice tight. "He's 25 and he's still hauling boxes and roofing houses like it's a game. He needs to settle down, get serious." Elise would nod, her lips pressed together, and say something like, "He's a good kid though, just needs a push." I'd roll my eyes from the hallway, slip on my headphones, and tune them out. It was the same script every time, and I wasn't interested in playing my part. But there was this one moment that stuck with me. It was a Saturday, maybe a month into their friendship. I was sprawled on the couch scrolling through my phone, half listening to them chatter about a new bakery in town. Elise was telling Mom about some fancy croissant she'd tried, her hands moving like she was painting the air. Then, out of nowhere, she glanced my way. Our eyes met for just a second, and there was something in her look, not pity, not judgment, but curiosity, like she was seeing me, not just Mom's slacker son. She smiled, quick and subtle, before turning back to Mom. I shook it off, but that look lingered in my head, like a note you hear long after the music stops. Elise wasn't just a sounding board for Mom's worries. They were close, like sisters almost. They'd swap stories about bad dates, laugh about the neighbor's yappy dog, and plan trips to the farmer's market. Mom trusted her, leaned on her. Elise had this knack for listening, really listening. Her head tilted just so, her eyes locked on you like you were the only person in the room. But she wasn't soft or pushy. She'd called Mom out when she got too worked up. Like when Mom obsessed over the pharmacist mixing up her meds. "Relax, Karen," Elise would say, her voice calm but firm. "It's not worth a meltdown." Mom would laugh, diffused, and they'd move on. I started noticing how Elise carried herself, how she'd sip her coffee with this quiet grace, her fingers tracing the mug's handle. She wasn't just lovely, she was alive in a way that made you pay attention still. I kept my distance. She was Mom's friend, part of her world, not mine. But that glance on the couch, that fleeting moment, planted a seed. I started wondering what she saw when she looked at me. Did she see the guy Mom complained about, or something else? I didn't know it then, but Elise was about to become more than just a voice in the kitchen. The kind where the world feels like it's holding its breath. I was sprawled on my bed, the glow of my phone cutting through the dark. The cottage was silent, save for the low buzz of the ceiling fan spinning above me. Mom was asleep in her room, the lights long off. I'd finished a shift at the warehouse early that day, unloading crates until my back ached. So I had no plans, no energy, just me and my phone, scrolling through nothing in particular. Then it happened. My phone vibrated, a sharp buzz that jolted me. A notification popped up, a message from someone I'd never texted before. "Elise." My heart skipped. Not out of excitement, but confusion. Why was Mom's friend messaging me at midnight? I opened the text, half expecting something about Mom. Maybe she was sick, or there was some emergency. Instead, it was a photo. My thumb froze over the screen. Elise stood in front of a mirror, her dark curls loose, falling over her shoulders. She wore a silky robe, deep blue, catching the soft glow of a bedroom lamp that highlighted her silhouette. It wasn't explicit, not at all, but the way the fabric clung to her curves, the way her eyes locked onto the camera, steady and tense. No smile, felt deliberate, intimate, like she was sharing a secret meant only for me. Below the image, for words, "This is between us." My chest tightened, a rush of adrenaline hitting me like a wave. I locked my phone, then unlocked it again, half convinced I'd imagined it. But there it was, unchanged. Elise, staring back at me. I sat up, my mind racing. Was this a mistake? Did she mean to send it to someone else? My thumb hovered over the reply button, torn between curiosity and caution. I'd seen Elise in our kitchen, laughing with Mom, her voice warm and teasing. She'd complimented my tattoos once, her eyes lingering on the ink snaking up my arm. Another time, I caught her watching me when she thought I wasn't looking, her gaze soft but curious. But this was different. This was a line crossed, a door cracked open. I wasn't angry, not even uncomfortable. If I'm honest, I was intrigued. Elise wasn't a stranger. She'd sat across from me, shared my jokes, filled our house with her presence. But this photoette was a spark, and I didn't know whether to fan it or douse it. I stared at the screen for what felt like forever, my heart pounding. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to pretend it never happened. It'd be safer that way. Mom trusted Elise. They were friends. Responding felt like stepping into something I couldn't undo. But another part of me, the part that felt that itch for something real, something alive, couldn't look away. I typed a reply, my fingers hesitant. Did you mean to send this? To me, I hit send before I could overthink it, my pulse loud in my ears. The response came almost instantly. Yes, and I'm not sorry. No hesitation, no excuses. Just Elise, bold and unapologetic. I leaned back against the headboard, staring at the ceiling, the fan's hum fading into the background. My heart wasn't racing from fear, it was adrenaline. The kind that comes when you know something's about to change. I didn't know what to do, but I wasn't backing away. I typed again, keeping it short. I won't say if you don't. 3 dots appeared, then another photo. This one was bolder, her robe slipping slightly off one shoulder, her expression softer but still intentional. Then another, each one a little more daring, yet still classy, meant for me. I didn't sleep much that night, not because I was overthinking, I'm not that guy, but because the rules had shifted. Elise wasn't just Mom's friend anymore. Something had started, and I wanted to see where it led. The morning after Elise's midnight texts felt like waking up in a different world. The cottage looked the same, sunlight slanting through the kitchen shutters. The faint smell of last night's dinner lingering, but something inside me had shifted. I lay in bed longer than usual, my phone heavy in my hand, the memory of those photos burning in my mind. Elise's eyes, steady and bold, stared back at me from the screen I hadn't closed. My heart thudded, not just from the thrill, but from the weight of what we'd started. I wasn't sure what to do with it, but I couldn't unsee it either. Dragged myself out of bed, my movements slow, deliberate, like I was afraid of breaking something fragile. My hands shook slightly as I pulled on an old t-shirt, the cotton soft against my skin. In the kitchen, I made toast, the bread popping up with a jolt that made me flinch. Mom was already at the table, her phone propped up, scrolling through. Her usual complaints: neighbors, the weather, the price of eggs. She didn't look up, didn't mention Elise, just muttered about the dog next door barking at dawn. I poured coffee into my favorite chipped mug, the one I always used, and sat across from her, trying to act normal. But my palms were sweaty and I kept glancing at the door, half expecting Elise to walk in, half hoping she wouldn't. Around 10:30, Mom stood up, brushing crumbs off her hands. I'm heading to the farmer's market, she said, grabbing her woven tote bag. They've got those peaches I like, and I need to stock up before they're gone. Be back in an hour. She slung the bag over her shoulder and was out the door before I could respond, the screen door creaking shut behind her. The house fell quiet, too quiet, and I felt my pulse quicken. I sat on the couch, pretending to scroll through job postings on my phone, but my eyes kept darting to the window, watching for Elise's car. At 11 o'clock, the doorbell chimed, sharp and startling. I froze, my fingers tightening around my phone. Elise stepped inside, her presence filling the room like a sudden breeze. She wore tight jeans and a loose cream sweater, her dark curls pulled back, her face bare except for a hint of lip gloss that caught the light. She carried a small box of pastries, the kind Mom loved, and greeted me with a nod. Her expression, calm, practiced, like nothing had happened. "Morning, Nate," she said, her voice smooth, and set the box on the counter. I mumbled a hello, my throat dry, and avoided her eyes. Afraid they'd betray everything, she moved through the kitchen with ease, pouring herself coffee, her movements graceful but deliberate. I stayed on the couch, my leg bouncing, my phone, a useless prop in my hands. The silence stretched, heavy with everything unsaid. I could still see that photo, the silky robe, the bedroom lamps glowed. My mind churned with questions. Why me? Why now? Was this a game, or something real? Finally, I couldn't stand it. I stood, my sneakers scuffing the floor, and walked to the kitchen doorway. Elise leaned against the counter, sipping her coffee, her eyes meeting mine over the rim of her mug. That look, keen, soft, knowing, made my stomach twist. I cleared my throat, my voice low. What was that about last night? She didn't flinch, just set her mug down, her gaze steady, no trace of guilt. What do you think it was about? She asked, her tone calm, almost playful. I shrugged, my hands stuffed in my pockets too. Hide there, trembling. You tell me, was it a mistake? She stepped closer, just enough to make the air between us feel charged. No, she said, her voice firm. No doubt, no shame, not a mistake. I swallowed, my mind racing. Your mom's friend, I said, the words feeling heavy. You come here, listen to her talk about how I'm wasting my life. Elisa's eyes softened, and she looked down for a moment, her fingers tracing the counter's edge. When she looked up, her voice was quieter but sure. Nate, I tell her what she wants to hear. That's what friends do sometimes, but I see you. You're not lazy. you're free, and that scares people who want you to fit their mold. Her words hit me like a punch I didn't expect. For the first time, someone saw me, not the slacker, not the disappointment, but me, and that terrified each minute heavy with anticipation. Elise's words in the kitchen about seeing me, about my freedom looped in my head, stirring that itch I'd felt for something real. By evening I was restless, my thoughts, a tangle of nerves and excitement. I stood in front of the hallway mirror, pretending I didn't care how I looked. I swapped shirts 3 times, settling on a plain black one that fit just right, not to I ran a hand through my hair, grabbed a jacket, and slipped out the door without a word to Mom. She was glued to a cooking show in the living room, barely glancing up as I left. It was 8:56 p.m., and the early spring air was cool, sharp with the scent of fresh pavement and distant firewood. I waited at the corner of our street, my breath visible in the chilly night. Right on time, Elise's black SUV pulled up, the passenger window rolling down. She leaned toward me from the driver's seat, her grin soft but electric. "Get in," she said, her voice warm, no trace of makeup, just her hair tied back, in a loose ponytail, wearing a gray hoodie and black leggings. We didn't speak for the first few minutes. She drove with no music, just the hum of the tires against the road, the silence comfortable but charged. We ended up across town in a quiet neighborhood, where old trees lined empty sidewalks. She parked near a small park, the engine clicking off, and turned to me. "Walk with me." I nodded, my heart thumping, and we stepped out into the night. We walked side by side, not touching, our steps falling into an easy rhythm. The park was quiet, lit by the soft glow of street lamps, the air crisp against my skin. I glanced at her, her face half-shadowed, and broke the silence. "Do you do this often? Pick up guys half your age for night walks?" She laughed, a low, genuine sound that eased the tension in my chest. "No," she said, her eyes catching mine. "This is new, really new." We kept walking, our shoes crunching faintly on the gravel path. "I didn't plan this," she added, her voice softer now. "I didn't sit there plotting to text. It just happened. I see how you are with your mom, even when she's hard on you. You're patient, real, not like the men I've known, always playing a part." Her words hit deep, and I stopped walking for a moment, turning to face her. "I'm not some hero," I said, my voice low. "I'm just me. Doesn't exactly pay the bills." She smiled, a sad, vulnerable curve that made her look younger. "Maybe not, but it's rare honest. That's why I sent those photos. You make me feel seen, not just as your mom's friend, but as me." I swallowed, my throat tight. I'd spent so long feeling like a shadow in my own life, and here she was, saying I made her feel alive. It was like a door opening inside. Me, one I hadn't known, was there. We sat on a bench under a street lamp, the light casting a warm orange glow. "I've always been afraid of ending up alone," she said suddenly, her hands clasped in her lap. "Chasing the perfect guy, the perfect job, the perfect life. I'm 35, Nate, and I've got nothing but coffee dates and empty routines." Her voice cracked, just a little, and I felt my chest ache. "I get that," I said, my words careful. "I don't know what I want either, but I know I'm tired of drifting. I want something real, not just this." I gestured vaguely at the world around us, but she understood. She looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "What now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She glanced around, the park still and empty, then leaned closer. "Meet me tonight at 9, somewhere private." I didn't hesitate. "Okay." We walked back to her car, the air thick with unspoken possibilities. The drive to a motel was quiet, not awkward, but full of something: respect, hope, maybe even trust. What happened that night was ours, a moment too real to share. But it wasn't just physical. It was the start of something I hadn't known I was searching for. Saturday morning arrived, heavy with the weight of what was coming. The kitchen smelled of fresh coffee, sunlight slicing through the shutters in thin golden lines. Mom was humming, setting out plates for our usual coffee and pastries routine with Elise. I sat at the table, my untouched mug cooling in my hands, my stomach knotted. Elise pulled up at 10:03, her black SUV crunching the gravel outside. She stepped in, wearing a light blue blouse and jeans, her dark curls framing her face. She carried a paper bag of croissants, her smile calm but tight, like she was holding her breath. "Morning, Karen," she said, handing Mom the bag. Mom grinned, teasing. "You spoiled me with these. Got those chocolates I like." Elise nodded, her eyes flickering to me for a split second. "Your favorites." They chatted, as always, neighbor, gossip, the weather, the supermarket running low on eggs again. I stayed quiet, my hands clasped under the table, my leg bouncing. Elise poured coffee, her movements steady, but I caught her glancing at me, a silent question in her eyes. My heart pounded, my palms damp. This was it. We'd agreed to tell Mom today, to stop hiding. I cleared my throat, my voice low but steady. "Mom, we need to talk." She looked up, her smile fading, sensing the shift. "Okay," she said, setting her mug down. Elise reached for my hand under the table, her fingers brushing mine for a moment before pulling back. Mom didn't notice, or maybe she did and chose to ignore it. I took a breath, my eyes on Elise, then back to Mom. Elise and we've been seeing each other. The room went still, the air thick with silence. Mom blinked, her face blank, like her mind was catching up. Then her expression cracked confusion, disbelief, and something raw, like pain. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice sharp, her eyes fixed on Elise. Elise spoke softly, her tone steady. "We've been together a few weeks. It wasn't planned, but it's real." Mom's lips parted, her brows knitting together. "You're dating my son." Her voice rose, trembling with something deeper than anger. "I care about him," Elise said, her voice calm but firm. "I didn't mean to hurt you." Mom stood, her chair scraping the floor, her hands gripping the table's edge. "I let you into my home," she said, her voice cracking. "I trusted you, Elise. You sat here, listened to me worry about him. And all this time, you were what? Sneaking around with my son?" Her eyes glistened, not with tears, but with betrayal, like we'd taken something she couldn't get back. I spoke up, my voice quiet but steady. "It didn't start that way, Mom. It just happened. But this isn't a fling, it's real." Mom turned on me, her face flushed. "She's 10 years older than you, Nate. My friend, don't you see how wrong this is?" Her words stung, but it was her hurt that hit harder, the way her voice shook, like we'd left her out of our lives. "I don't," I said, meeting her gaze. "You've known her a year, not forever. And I know her better than anyone." Mom shook her head, her hands trembling. "You're my son. I thought I raised you better than this." Elise stood, her voice soft. "Maybe I should go." I grabbed her hand, my resolve hardening. "No, we're done hiding." Mom pointed to the door, her eyes cold. "Both of you, get out. I can't look at you right now." Elise hesitated, her face tight with guilt, but I stood, my chair creaking. "We're going," I said, my voice low. "But this isn't betrayal, Mom. It's just life, messy, unexpected. I love her, and she loves me." Mom's face crumpled, her anger giving way to something softer, sadder. "You think I'll just accept this?" she whispered. I didn't answer. Elise's hand found mine, and we walked out, the door clicking shut behind us. In her car, the silence was heavy, filled with her guilt, my defiance, and our shared resolve. We'd faced the storm, quiet, not the heavy silence of regret, but the kind that feels full, like we were carrying everything we'd just faced. Elise's hand rested on the gearshift, her knuckles pale, her eyes fixed on the road. I stared out the window, the familiar streets blurring past, feeling like I'd stepped through a doorway I couldn't uncross. That night I stayed at Elise's apartment, a small but cozy place with books stacked on every surface and a kitchen that smelled faintly of vanilla. By the end of the week, I'd moved in, my clothes stuffed into a duffel bag, my old life left behind in the cottage's back room. 4 months later, we're still here, building something real. Mornings are my favorite. Elise stands at the stove, flipping pancakes, her hair messy from sleep while I grind coffee beans, the machine's hum filling the air. One morning we burned the pancakes, the smoke alarm blaring as we laughed, waving dish towels to clear the air. She leaned against me, her head on my shoulder, and said, "This is better than perfect." I nodded, my chest warm, knowing she was right. It's not a fairy tale dishes pile up. We argue about whose turn it is to do laundry, but it's ours. Messy and honest. Mom hasn't called. I sent her a text a month ago, just a simple, "I'm okay. I hope you are too." She read it, the little check mark confirming it, but no reply came. It stings, but I get it. She feels betrayed, like we stole something from her. I hope one day she'll see it wasn't about hurting her, it was about choosing a life that feels true. Elise and I don't talk about it much, but I see the guilt in her eyes sometimes. The way she pauses before mentioning Mom's name. We're not hiding anymore, but we're careful, keeping our world small, texting late at night, stealing moments between errands. It's not Shamit's protecting what we've built until the dust settles. One evening we sat on her balcony, the city lights flickering below. Elise sipped tea, her knees tucked under her, and said, "I was scared I'd never feel this again." I looked at her, the glow of the streetlights softening her face. "What dollhouse?" I said, my voice steady. I thought I was done feeling invisible. Her words hit me, not just because they echoed my own longing to be seen, but because they reminded me how fragile this connection was. We weren't just defying Mom's expectations, we were defying the world's, choosing each other despite the whispers and judgment. Living with Elise has changed me. I'm not drifting anymore. I've started looking for steady work, not because I need to prove anything, but because I want to build something with her, something lasting. She's not fixing me, and I'm not fixing her. We're just two people, raw and real, finding a home in each other. I still hear Mom's voice sometimes, telling me to grow up, but this choosing Elise, choosing us, feels like the most grown-up thing I've ever done. This story isn't just about love. It's about courage. It's about standing in the truth, even when it hurts the people you care about. So, what does it mean to you? At Hidden Tales, we share stories like this to spark something in you, maybe a memory, a feeling, or a choice you've been avoiding. Have you ever had to choose between your heart and someone else's expectations? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every one, and your story might inspire someone else. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to join our community. Hidden Tales is where real stories live, so share yours and let's keep uncovering the truths that make us human.